I want to talk about the hidden dangers of asthma. You may not know this, but asthma is actually very dangerous and it can lead to some really bad outcomes if you don't do the right things to protect your lungs. Now, first of all, I want to explain what asthma is. Asthma is a disease that affects your airways in your lungs. And when you have asthma, those airways become inflamed and they become very sensitive. And so, when you breathe in certain things that you're sensitive to, it can trigger what's called an asthma attack. During an asthma attack, those airways get very inflamed and they get filled with mucus, and it becomes very difficult to breathe. Now, the problem with asthma is that you may not even know that you're at risk for it. You may not even know that you have asthma until you have an asthma attack. And by that time, you're really in trouble because the inflammation in your lungs during an asthma attack can be quite severe. It can lead to what's called status asthmaticus, which is a very severe form of asthma that can be life-threatening. And it can also lead to something called respiratory failure, where your lungs just simply cannot get enough oxygen into the body, and that can lead to death. So it's really important to protect your lungs from the things that can trigger asthma attacks. And there are certain things that you can do to help prevent asthma attacks from happening in the first place. One of the most important things you can do is to avoid the triggers that set off your asthma. Common triggers include things like pollen, dust, mites, mold, pet dander, and smoke. If you know what your triggers are, you can take steps to avoid them, and that can really go a long way in preventing asthma attacks. Another thing you can do is to keep your house clean. This is especially important if you have asthma. Make sure you dust frequently, vacuum regularly, and use a HEPA filter vacuum if you have one. This will help reduce the amount of allergens in your home, and that can make a big difference. The next thing you should do is to get a flu shot every year. The flu can trigger asthma attacks, so it's really important to protect yourself from the flu by getting vaccinated. Finally, make sure you have a plan in place for when you have an asthma attack. This means having the right medication on hand and knowing how to use it. It also means knowing when to go to the emergency room if your symptoms are not improving. Remember, asthma is a serious condition, but you can take steps to protect yourself and your lungs. Following these tips, you can help prevent asthma attacks and keep your lungs healthy and strong. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends and family. Until next time, stay healthy and stay safe.